Now there was no 4, 3, 2, 1. We're just live.
We're just live.
And
Hey,
then
everybody. Okay, everybody. I am Ann Sommer, PA Ann Sommer, physician assistant. Ann Sommer, you know me as the physician assistant, but in the past year, what did I do? I went into speaking and coaching, and this is the first official, after the first official, which has been a couple years ago, but Kittens to Cougars podcast. Kittens to Cougars podcast. I have my friend Stacey Lauren on, and she is the do the thing queen. Just give me a little bit of Stacey. I need you to introduce yourself, and then I'm going to connect the kittens to the Cougars and why you and I are together.
I'm so excited. Yes. So I'm Stacey Lauren. I am the host of the Do the Thing podcast and then also run Do the Thing communities. And I am in love with Ann Sommer because we have so much fun every time we are together. And it's like, I really wanted to get like kitten ears for this. And then I forgot. I was like so bummed.
You know what? I do have, because about a year ago I said, well, I'm going to start this podcast, and then I named it Kittens to Cougars, and then I bought the URL, and then I recorded one with my friend Kyle Zimmerman, which is on YouTube, which has been the only episode. But I did buy headphones that have little ears on them.
No way. It's
Yeah,
so funny because I remember when I asked your address and I was like going to buy them on Amazon for you. And then I'm like, there's no way she doesn't have kitten ears, you know? So then I talked myself out of it. But anyway, yeah.
I know you asked for my address, and I just freely and willingly gave it to you. Like, here it is. Take it. Okay, so here's the premise of Kittens to Cougars, everybody. In our life, and I, because I practiced medicine for 26 years, and my life is full of good stories, which means I learned life lessons one of three ways: the wrong way, the hard way, or through my friends, right? So this podcast is taking us from learning life lessons like in the past and then into the future and the present. So I'm starting podcast as a kitten. I'm like a brand new little kitten. I'm excited. My eyes are kind of closed at birth. I don't really know what I'm getting into, but I brought in my fearless feline friend, Stacey. She's the cougar. She's got the maturity and the experience and all of that. So she is going to basically take me by the neck and like take me up the ladder. So my Stacey, what would be, how are you going to lead me through this first podcast?
Yeah, I am so excited. Well, we started with like us just saying like, let's just go live too. Let's do a live podcast, right? And we could do it in the Facebook community. You could do it on your YouTube channel, like, and you're getting to see this process of just not just having it be in a vacuum, like on a Zoom, and then it gets uploaded. It's like now you're able to do this like living, breathing podcast. So that's step one. I feel like we should tell them though, like the moment that you started your podcast. I feel like that's a really important part of the story.
Yes. Yeah. You know why I'm laughing? I am laughing, everybody, because as I just said, I learned all of hard life lessons one of three ways: the wrong way, the hard way, or through my friends. And it just occurred to me that my friends have led me into these decisions like, hey, Ann, let's go live. And I'm like, okay. And then what happens? You learn a lesson like, we won't know if it's the wrong way or the hard way, but I'm going to say I was led by my friend Stacey, and I just willingly was like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that.
It's so true. It's so true. And it's great because you're so open, right? Like we're like, oh, let's do Zoom, let's do stream, let's figure it out, right? It's so good.
Yes.
And the moment started when we're in Texas at an event and we're in the same hotel, and it's like 11 o'clock at night as we're like heading back to our rooms.
3 weeks ago, and Hurricane Viral had just roared through, and the electricity had just come back on, Stacey, because we were walking around the hotel with glow sticks because there was no electricity.
That's right. And we're like exhausted. And I don't even know what happened, but you're all of a sudden, like, as we're heading to the elevator, you're like, oh, do you think maybe you could talk to me about doing a podcast tomorrow?
You wanted to go to bed. We took an Uber back from this other conference party thing we had. And then it was like 11 o'clock. And Stacey's talking about podcasts. I'm like, hey, we should set that up. And you were like, I'm going to bed. I'm like, okay. And then again, I'm starting to see this really clear pattern of I make a recommendation and you're like, yep. And then you make one and I'm like, yep. And then in the end, we laugh because we were up until like 2:30. So Stacey Lauren says, it'll take us 5 minutes. Do you want to do a podcast? Let's do it right now. And I said, okay, let's do it right now. And then Katharina and Kristen. So you had a crowd of creating podcasts.
Yeah, it was so fun. And it is the thing that, and speaking of Kitten and Cougar, I think this is so related because when you can really be like a really fun kitten, is when you're doing something that you love. And that's when you become the cougar, right? Because it's coming from this place of like fun and playful curiosity and just like the love for it. And helping someone start a podcast is literally the thing I could do for free for the rest of my life. And I would be like the happiest person in the world because I love it so much, And so anyway, I think that goes back to the kitten theme of like, when you're wanting to be a kitten in something new, like find something that you just love more than anything else.
Yes, I do. I will post that. Okay, because where you were going was we set this all up and now it was you, myself, and our other friend, KK. And then I don't know, I'm sure Stacey said, let's record the first one right now. And we were like, okay. And we ran outside and it was like 200% humidity. And I'm going to warn you, I have natural curly hair. We all do. All three of us. And it was like chia pet hair. And I held out the phone and we just like went live and canned it, kind of like an offshoot of what is that called where you go? Yeah, like actors, they don't have lines. They just
Impromptu.
That's what we did. So funny. That is so funny. I'm going to post that. I will.
Yeah, it was so fun. And I hope you share that episode because I thought it was like and Katarina came to life. I was like all of us, I don't even know what happened. It was like so fun,
It was so fun. Yeah. So our friend Katarina she's super fun. Don't you think, Stacey, there is something hidden in her, but a camera comes on her and all of a sudden it is like the sun is back out at midnight and she's just like telling stories and animated. And we both were like, oh my God, I love this like Skittles and Rainbow girl. What is she doing?
It was so fun. And so back to your question with becoming a cougar with podcasting, it's like literally this, right? It's you find people that you love talking to or that you're interested in, and you're curious about whatever it is that their thing is that they're excited about. And then you're tying the stuff that you love and the stuff that you know into that. And then the curiosity game gets to happen and you get to just play with that. And then when you decide to bring your community into it, then you're able to then, like you said, I love that you said this the other day, it's like playing off the comments. Then you're playing off the people that are there and it becomes this really beautiful experience that you're able to have with everyone because you're creating this space.
Yes. Stacey Lauren, your do the thing is, okay, so Stacey Lauren's tagline is, don't wait for opportunity, create it, right?
That's good. Yay.
Yes. And the best part is Stacey and I are good friends and I'm in one of her communities. And it was so fun. For the first time, I experienced what your community, like a Facebook community is. And it is really fun and engaging. And we all look forward to it. And it created all these friendships and collaborations in different groups versus the groups I'm in before do the thing was I get notifications and I'm kind of like, I don't even know why I'm here. I don't know who these people are. I don't know what I'm doing. They want me to join A, B, C, D, E, and then I end up unsubscribing and now I'm more overwhelmed because I don't really know the purpose of the groups. But I do now. And now I have my own group and we're having so much fun. Like you said, I go live and people jump on and we just improv. But I do, like you said, add the things that I do like with my coaching clients. And that is get rid of fear. Get rid of the negativity, erase the inner critic, redefine your self-talk, live fearlessly. And so like to get that in with the fun and the humor and the group, it's, I don't know. Is it like, it's like grade school again?
Yeah, it's so cool because everyone thinks you have to like teach everything, right? And it's like, and it's, you just have to show these pieces of yourself by being yourself. And that's what helps people see it. And I think we're a good example of this. And is it's like we already became friends, right? Like both times we've met, I think we've only met in person twice, right? Like I feel like, but we've had conversations more than that. And so it was love at first sight. We're just laughing. And then we had a podcast episode where I literally was laughing the entire episode. Like we were just cracking up, having a good time. And then I get to see your genius, right? Like at the event with the visual framework and how you're able to like pull things out of your head and create something. But then I didn't know that was like a thing you do for like everything until you came into my program and you're like, oh, I actually like, I learned this from my medical background. Is like, that's what I do. I'm able to pull things from people's heads and create a visual framework. And I'm like, Anne, I didn't know you like do that. That's like your thing. I thought it was just with that like one thing. And so then I'm like sitting in your community as a member, watching your video, and you're just so fun. And it's a problem right now where I'm trying to explain something complicated and it's still half in my head and half out there, in a video. Yeah. And I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I not asking Anne like for help? Right. And so then tomorrow I get to be your kitten and you're going to help extract stuff out of my head. But I think that's a good example, right? It's like, you're just like having fun, but people get glimpses of what you do. And now, like you've now paid me, I'm now paying you, but it's from a place of us being able to like really help each other on like deep levels.
Very deep levels. And when you said, I've always known I've seen things in 4D. And if I can't like make the Ferris wheel work in my head, I have to find the bolt. I have to find the tool. I have to make it run in my head to understand it. And you really were like, oh, I didn't know you created 4D visions for everything. I was like, oh, I guess I didn't know I did that either, in a sense. Like I couldn't verbalize it. And then you're like, wow, okay. And then I was like, but here, this is super interesting because in my medical career, I do really better with complicated cases. Complicated cases. And some patients will be like, you don't do anything fast, Anne. You take forever. But what I do is I'm always pulling out different pieces and then I'm putting them together. And in the end, I come up with diagnoses that have probably been missed for 5, 10, 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's interesting because a lot of physicians learn algorithms. They learn a piece of paper and an algorithm. You do A and then B and then C. And I don't learn like that. I don't think like that. I use that to help me, navigate where it is I need to go, because nobody knows everything. That's the other thing. Nobody knows everything. It's okay to say, I don't know everything. I know 80%. I can remember 10% from 50 years ago. And then being able to construct it and put this like 3D dimension, be like, here, Stacey, that's what you need. That's what you have.
Yeah, it's so good. And I think that's what helps. And we're going back to the podcast, right? That's what I love about podcasting, going live, activating your voice, because like you're starting to learn even more about yourself just by being in this world and getting to do it. And now you're starting to see like connection points, through your life. And then other people are then seeing that. And then they're able to say, oh my gosh, I need that. And so I just think that's really, really cool. And I love 4D. I forgot those words. I remember you saying that, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's incredible!" Like, who doesn't want a 4D visual from like this stuff that's like stuck in your head that you want to like see? Which is like for what you do. It's like you help overcome like fear and self-doubt and limiting thoughts, but you're also able to create these constructs of like visuals of like dreams that are in people's heads, you know, systems, right? What you did for Eileen's speaking framework was like beyond anything.
Yeah. And what Stacey's talking about is we're both in this mastermind and run by Eileen, and I did a speech, and then I went back and I knew I'd done good, but I was like, okay, I think there's a couple more things here. And I watched all of the videos again. I read everything. I read her book. I kept drawing it. And then finally I was like, aha, I got it. I got it on a piece of paper. It makes sense. And then I taught it to the group and I taught it to you. And you were just like, oh my God, this makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
Like that.
It's so good. And so, yeah, back to your podcasting question. What's so cool about a podcast is there's no rules. You get to do whatever you want. It's an interview, like full on, like what's your story? You know, tell me how you got to where you are. Like, how do you overcome whatever it is you want to learn about? Or it's like, I want to learn more about comedy today. Teach us about how to do stand-up comedy, or I'm going to coach someone about how I'm able to help them take this visual construct that's stuck in their head and put it into a thing. And so that's what's so beautiful is you could just decide whatever it is, but not coming from like, I don't like it when people put things on a spreadsheet and they're like, this is my plan and I'm going to do these topics on these days. Like, who wants that? That's annoying. You know?
I don't know. That makes me sad. Like, it saddens my soul.
Yeah.
It's like, no, let's not do that. It's okay to have a topic. It's okay to have a person who, you know, does the thing. And let's talk about does the thing in the Kittens to Cougars and how is it going. And this is officially episode 3. Ooh. I did say 1, but we have the one I did a long time ago, the one in Houston with you, KK, myself, and then this one. But this one is like maybe the first formal Kittens to Cougars. Maybe that's the magic of it. So if you were going to tell me your number one lesson to get from kitten to cougar in podcasting, what would it be?
Ooh, it's to move. It's to just like get into momentum. So the sooner, and that's why I created the collaboration group, was because this really happened for me when I started, where I had like a few people like Sue, she's in the Wealth Experiment group. She's the Entrepreneurs Gone Wild community. She's like an example. We became friends at an event that we had met at a few years before I started the podcast. I interviewed her and then she just started connecting me to a bunch of people to interview them. Like, she's like, oh, this person's cool. She'd connected me. And then I had another friend, Sandy, who was my book strategist at the time. And now we're friends. And she also was like, oh, you got to meet so-and-so. And so what happens is when you have people like that in your life that are like constantly like inviting others to join your thing, it's like you see they believe in what you're doing, which that helps. And then also it gets you the momentum to just like kind of, I don't want to say be forced because that sounds negative, but it's like kind of forced to like do it, because otherwise like we have to be self-motivated, you know. But if someone's waiting to be interviewed, you know, there's like a drive there where you want to interview them and hear their story. And so that would be number one lesson, would be just like move and connect with people so that it's easy to start interviewing and to do what you're doing, where like you're learning, like we're using this podcast, and I didn't know where we were going to go with this, but I love the direction, especially because it's Kitten to Cougars, and like you're using this as a way to learn. And so by you learning, now everyone else that's listening is going to be learning too.
Yes, for sure.
I think you have to be the expert when you're the podcast host at something. They don't realize you could be a kitten and you could be learning about the thing. So I think you're modeling a really good example of what I love about podcasting, is that like, we don't have to be the expert. We just have to be interested and curious and actually want to know what the other person is either saying, doing, teaching, whatever it is.
Listening. Learn how to listen. Do you find, because you've done how many podcast episodes now, Stacey?
Yeah, it's like 250.
250. That you've been on yours and a guest.
Yeah. 250 with me and a guest. Yeah.
250. Oh my goodness. And then do you find that for you, when you're the host, that you have to maintain a certain disposition? Or is it okay to sometimes you're like, I'm serious. I feel a little more serious today. And then one day you're funny. I'm really asking for myself because my personality flips all over.
Yeah. I say, and you say this well, I don't know your exact words, but I hope you'll say it now. But like the more you are, the more fun you have, the more you're gonna love what you're doing, and the more people are gonna love listening. So
Yeah.
that would be my suggestion with everything is just like not trying to be something for
Mhm.
anyone. It's just
Yeah.
literally like tapping in. I mean, you could say I'm fun Ann today. Like you could give
Yeah.
yourself like names, which would be like I'm serious Ann today. And like you could
Yeah.
just like, oh my gosh. And then you can wear like a hat when you're like serious, like a red hat, with like the brim on it. When you're like, then you could be like sexy Ann, when you're like doing a
Yeah.
little cougar, kind of like
Yes.
anyway. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm a Lima today. I'm
You're
a
right.
cougar. A Lima. Is Lima a cat? Is that a cat? I think so. I don't know where that came from. Lima.
Oh, yes. And you
Oh,
just yeah, no, you just told me remind I don't know why this just came up right now, but this is super important. Number 2 really important thing with the podcast and getting
yes.
it going is no editing. Zero
Oh, no editing.
zero.
Okay.
Zero, wait,
Oh,
zero, zero, no
okay.
editing.
Okay.
At least for like 20 episodes. After you've hit 20, if you decide you want to edit, then you could use like Descript or something like easy where it's like an
Okay.
AI and you could take things
Mhm.
out. Because once you get into editing,
Yeah.
it's like exhausting then, until you're like to the point where you're making money from like the podcast or all the other things, it's okay to put money
Yes.
out in and have someone edit it. But
Yes.
like until then, there's no point. You're just like getting to know your voice,
Yes.
and
Yes.
you don't know who's listening in the beginning anyway. So it kind of doesn't matter. Like you're doing it for you and for the people that you're meeting.
Yes. For sure. For sure. Podcasting, I think, is, and I'm going to go from when I was just not even a kitten a year ago, where it's like, I'm going to do this. And then you start looking into it and you're like, uh, maybe not. Maybe, nah, I'm going to wait because you get 100 people telling you different advice
Yeah.
and then different prices and different costs. And then it's like, I really need to invest my money somewhere else. Well, really, it doesn't cost that much. That's a beautiful part
Yeah.
about you. You were like, no, we're going to set it up, we're going to tape it, and then we're going to go live. And then you got a podcast. And
Yeah.
it is finding that voice of you. I say, what I tell my clients is I'm going to erase your inner critic, redefine your self talk, and then you get to be the you that you want to be that's already inside of you.
Mm.
Because we as people and humans are just taken back by all of those voices in our head, all that negativity. Now, whether it came from when we were young, or it's coming from society, or our younger people are being more influenced by the TikTokers and the what are those filters, right? Where everybody looks amazing. Even I put on a filter and I'm like, I should have this on 24/7. And then you turn it off and you're like, oh my God, what happened? My eyes,
Yeah.
my eyes.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's just a distortion of reality. It's a distortion of reality. And that is all your inner critic is. It's a distortion of reality. It's
Mhm.
words versus vision. We have five senses and then six and seven and eight, but
Yeah.
you
So
just have
good.
to, yeah, understand that. And I think podcasting does that also is it takes me into, I finally am like, it's okay. It's okay if I tell stories that 99% of the people like and 1% don't. That's okay. I've given myself a high percentage. You see what I did there?
Yeah, it's so important because like I think that's what I think is like you do it for yourself, and then
Mhm.
and like it like there was a point when I mean I've had my podcast 2 years, so to have the amount of episodes is a lot, for that short
Yeah.
amount of time. I have to actually like
Yeah.
force myself to not interview someone. That's how like got obsessive I got because
Oh,
it's so fun. Like honestly,
yeah.
like it's even more fun sometimes than like hanging out with someone in real life because you like have this like intentional like hot hub where you're like having
Yes.
this conversation and we
Yeah.
know what we're doing. And so anyway, I get
Mhm.
a lot internally out of it. But last
Mhm.
summer I was like too much into it. So I had to take the summer off because I was like, yeah, that's my what it was what is that? The AA for podcasting.
The ADDHD or something of podcasting. The hyper attention
Yeah,
that
then I
you're
switched to going live, and then I realized, wait, you could go live and then put it on your podcast. So now I'm like super happy because I just
oh,
like to go live. But anyway, that
I
is my
love that.
story. Is it's so
Yeah.
fun. But the
You
point is,
just
I
yeah,
love it. That's what the point. I think that's what I was trying to
yeah.
say. You want to get to the point where you love it so much that you have to force yourself to not do it because that's how much you love it.
Well, I will love it because I love talking to people and I love hearing their stories. And then I love that there's something in my brain that the cell pops open, almost like a little, that clown box where it's like, dun, 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 dun. Stacey's telling a story. And then all of a sudden the clown pops up like, dun, dun, and then I feel like in my brain, some cell pops and I'm like, oh my God, I just had a memory. I got to tell you this. And then I start telling stories that even I'm like, maybe the good angel's like, do you really want to tell the story? And the bad angel's like, uh-huh, because it's funny. And people are going to learn a lesson because I had to learn the wrong way, the hard way, or through my friend. So I'm going to be the friend to tell everybody that
Yeah,
they, right?
it's so huge when
Mhm.
you have like that piece of advice that could help someone like save time or reframe what they're thinking or
Yeah.
just be able to get someone through the day sometimes, right? Depending on
Yes.
what's going on. And it's
Hmm.
amazing to know that by you getting out of your head and by you being okay with no microphone, no editing, and just
Hmm.
like having fun, then that's what's going to help the other person, you know, get through whatever they're wanting to get through that day.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. What do we need to get through today? What
That's
will
good.
be our life lesson to our listeners?
Well, I don't know if you're open to this, but like seeing you kind of even just going through the wealth experiment and now your group is activated,
Yeah.
like what that is, I think this is a massive life lesson because it's like tapping into your own internal guidance, and your intuitive system, not having any attachment to any outcome, but just like falling into the fun
Yeah.
and the playfulness of what you're doing. You're not thinking about what you're selling. You're not thinking about what your offer is. You're not thinking about like anything other than like, I am here and I've got my people and I am like playing and like serving them. It's coming from a true, like you can tell it's coming from a true version of your heart. Like I think I even
Yeah.
commented, I'm like, I literally see your heart. And so I feel like
Mhm.
that's a lesson is what you're kind of like going through right now.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, you said that so well, Stacey. And you just this is my newest Annism. You can't see the bark of the tree when you're inside the trunk, right?
Mm, wow. That is
And
really good.
thank
Yeah.
you. But
Whoa.
it's true, right? We get so stuck looking outside that we don't see what is our own shell, what is our own skin, what is the beautiful oak that you are. So when people can say like you just did, like, I see your heart and you're just having fun and you finally are just intuitively being led to just be you inside that community. And yeah, for sure, it's
Yeah.
so fun. It's
And
so
like
fun.
you and use the word community for anything, right? Like that's
Mhm.
how like life could be. This could like let's like expand it out because I feel like so many times we're thinking about like the whether we're dating or we're starting a podcast
Yeah.
or we're getting a new job, like we're like so kind of like jaded in our thinking. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And like stuck
Yeah.
in a box, we're not like open to expanding
Yeah.
what that looks like. And when you're able to like open and expand, then people can
Mhm.
see you. They're not seeing the mask or the shell of like
Yes. Yeah.
anything. They're seeing like the true you. That's why I messaged you. I'm like, wait, I know what you do. I need that. let me pay you to like help me, because I got to see like all like you, right? So,
Yes. Yes. So good. It's so good. It's another step into having a vision, right? The 4D vision. There
mm,
are multiple, it's like that's probably why cats have litters. Cats have litters, right? Anywhere from like what? 5 to 10 babies? And these little kittens all have, if we were that litter, if I'm a litter of kittens and I throw a little kitten off on a different task at a different time in my life, I'm maturing in all of these different lives in a sense where right now my baby kitten is the podcast. But my medicine, I'm a cougar. Like I'm
right.
very comfortable in that. And even just becoming comfortable showing different sides of my personality and not worrying so much about, well, you said the word poop. Okay. Or you told a story about a blind date when you were single how many years ago? Or you're going to talk about whatever people need to talk about. Like I'm comfortable with that. Now, there are all these different levels of, well, yeah, I'm a kitten here, but I'm a cougar there in a
So
sense, right?
huge. Oh, it is because I think so many people are scared to like be a kitten, and but it's also because they haven't
Yeah.
tapped into the fact that they're not a kitten everywhere. So like once you
Mhm.
kind of like understand where your zone of genius is, then you're getting
Mhm.
more confidence, I think, in being able to
Yeah.
be a kitten somewhere else because you're so good at all these other things that you're the
Yeah.
cougar.
Right. Yeah. The cougar, the confident cougar. All of these little, right? The little you hit on something really important there, Stacey, is that ability of when you do master something, we'll say master, right? Or
Yeah.
become an expert or whatever. You've been in a career, you've done something, you're a great woodworker, and you know you're great at it. Are you able to take on something new in the quote unquote kitten form and be so comfortable and confident in yourself that you can say, I don't know, I'll find out. Hey, could you help me? Because those are hard things for a lot of people to admit.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what, no matter what stage. So at some point, you really have to understand that those things that you're going to start new is you're going to be new. It's not a lateral movement. Like going from medicine to entrepreneurship, I was like, this will be lateral. There's a whole new learning curve. Meow.
Yeah,
Right? Until
that's
you're
so true.
perfect.
Yeah. Although there's going to be a point, ooh, this is fun. There's going to be a point that you'll see, and for those of you that don't know, and if you comment, I can always give you this dare, but or the episode at least. There's a thing that I had explored once on my podcast, which is about life assets, where
Okay.
where you're able to like tap in to like the parts of you that are doing one thing, and then realizing that it's similar to the other thing, and then you actually can start off as a mid-level kitten and not just a
Mm,
complete new kitten. I learned this with my podcast because I was like terrified in the
mm.
beginning of like
Yeah,
interviewing people on my
yeah,
podcast. And it
yeah.
really came out when I interviewed someone that had Anastasia. You might meet her at some point through the program, but she was part of the war in Ukraine and like ended up like leaving and like was in the basement with the sirens going and everything and left. And I interviewed her 2 weeks after she left Ukraine and was like helping hundreds of women get jobs and shelter. And I had a morning interview with her and I was like almost wanting to throw up. I was so nervous because I felt the responsibility of like getting
Yeah,
her story,
yes.
that I
Right.
was sick. I just was like, how am I like getting this story? I just didn't feel like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's still very new. Well, she's only episode
Mhm.
10. She was
Right.
referred by a friend of mine. And then I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden I'm like, when have I done this before? Like, can I just tap
Yeah.
into something? And then I realized like duh, like you've interviewed, like at the time I'd interviewed thousands of people with my staffing company. So
Yeah.
then once I was able to frame it as like the same thing I did
Yeah.
before an interview, all of a sudden I was like, okay, right? And I felt
Right.
comfortable doing it. And
Right.
it's kind of like that. So I do think there might be a kitten kind of like crossover a little bit
Yes.
when you're able to like tap into it. I mean, you're
Yes.
still learning the thing brand new, but there is some kind of foundation that you could have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for that. And amazing. Oh, I would love to listen to her or meet her because wow. And you know what it is? It just hit me is the skill, the skill of listening versus hearing and
Mhm.
when to talk and when not to talk. For example, when I practiced orthopedics in New Mexico, this older gentleman came in to see me and he seemed very sad, tall, you could tell distinguished
Mhm.
gentleman. And we were just talking and he was real sad. And I was like, "So, when did you retire? What did you used to do?" Just trying to frame like, well, let's instead talk about your knee pain, let's just take it away for 5 minutes. Well, guess what? He ran the world press when John F. Kennedy got shot.
Wow.
So, I mean, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. And then all of his articulation came out and some of the theories, some of
Hmm.
the conspiracy theories and how it all worked and where was John FK and all of it. And I was like, wow,
Wow.
do you understand that you have a life lesson, that an adventure that no other people have? Like you're the only one in the world that
Mm.
had world press privileges, publishing, this whole responsibility to get it right because it's the world press. When John F. Kennedy got shot,
Wow.
I was like,
Yeah. Wow.
I know. I was like, you're like the coolest guy I've ever met. And we just talked and he started to light up and then like his life came back. And those are the lessons that I've learned working with people of, yeah, somebody might come in with pain, but maybe it isn't their need. Yeah,
Yeah.
somebody might come in and they might have some suicide ideations. Not that that isn't like mental health, but what else is going? There might be more there. There's so many layers to our mind and our body that interact or disconnect, and understanding where do those pieces fit in that four-dimensional
Totally.
framework.
Good. Yeah, and you're just reminding me too, another really good thing for a kitten podcast
Yes.
is to remember those stories that you just shared and go, when have I been so excited to hear a story or meet someone,
Yeah.
that I would love to explore more. And so like people like that are great people to bring in.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna off the cue, just my alarm is going off. So I'm
Yes.
gonna
Yes. Yes. I was going to say your alarms are going off. You know what? Let me give everybody a, some homework, Stacey, because I think
Yay.
that a ton of people don't really know how to talk, how to just like basic communication, or if they're shy and they're like, well, how do you? Because I used to be super, super, super shy, and now I'm an overcorrected outgoing adult. I had to figure that out. This is what you should do whenever you see. It's usually an older gentleman that has like a Vietnam hat or World War II vet. You
Mm,
should say, thank you for serving,
mm,
number one. Because World War II vets are almost extinct. And
mm.
those men and women, we give men, because they went to combat and they have the hats, but please always say thank you. Always say thank you to anybody that's in military. Say thank you for serving
Mm,
because that's the reason we have a free country, number
mm.
one. Number two is when those little guys are in wheelchairs and they can only go as fast as the people pushing them. You say, hey, thank you for serving. Tell me your fondest memory of
Oh.
being in the military. I did that one day. One guy goes, "Oh, I served with Elvis Presley." And his wife or daughter's like, what? I didn't know that. And I was like, well, that's cool. Another guy was like, I just remember having really good buddies and we got drunk. And one day we all woke up. I think he said naked or something, because I'm sure he like came from kind of a strict family and then they went wild like college, right? That was funny. And so those start there. Start with the what we call elderly or the wise. They have
Yeah.
so much to share. And all you gotta do is ask them.
So good. Love that. It's so interesting when I noticed this. So I do street interviews where I like talk to people on the street, record.
Yeah.
My daughter records them when we travel. And then, and it's what's something you've done recently that you're proud of? And
Oh,
what I love about that is kind of what you just said is it's like they, whoever's with them is like always shocked
yeah. Yeah.
by like what they say because we're not designed to ask questions like that to the people
No.
that we know for whatever
Mm.
reason, and it's they all of like I'm giving like this gift for this person to now
Yeah.
be seen by the people they're with, which is like really cool. And it sounds like really similar to what you did. And I
Yeah.
think it's like a really cool, I think that's a really cool isn't the right word, but it's such a beautiful gift to be able to give someone.
Easy. It's an easy pay it forward.
Oh
It's
yeah.
an easy pay it forward. You don't have to do anything. All you have to invest is some oxygen and some vocal energy and a little bit of attention. Like that's it. That is your investment to pay it forward for somebody that did what I consider a huge sacrifice in their life.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
good. Oh,
Yeah.
I have another thing for you for your kitten podcast. So, because we're getting close to the
Yeah.
end, and so I want to make sure, this is so fun. Is whatever any. So I always like I have one question I ask everyone, no matter what. Everything
Mm.
else is always like kind of up to whatever happens
Yes.
in the world and like where the conversation goes, like what's happening with us right now, which is so fun. I love that space when you just get to have fun with people. But
Yes.
but there's always one question. Mine is, what's one piece of advice? What's your number one piece of advice for people on doing the thing? And so my reason for that is like that's how I've been able to like identify the patterns,
Okay.
which helped me with my formula. And then it's also something I might eventually do a book on is like everybody's one piece of advice. So it's kind of fun to have like one question that is standard that you ask everyone because you're able to then like kind of almost even might be fun for you to do 4D on that sometime or say,
Yes.
there's just a lot there to do. What would be your
Yes.
question? What would be your question? Do you know?
I was just thinking that. What would be my question? What would be a great question? Okay. I think that do you like cats? Yes or no? Do
Are you
you?
asking? Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay, so yes. So then what feline animal of the cat family do you relate to the most? Which one do you think
Oh,
you are?
oh, interesting. So, okay, that's interesting. So when you say feline animal, you mean in terms of like cat versus tiger versus lion?
Yes.
Like okay, gotcha.
Yes.
It's so funny. I am totally a kitten, like in my like in where I want to be because I just love the and then you get pet and like loved on. I feel like if I could just get pet and loved on like all the time like that would be like my favorite thing to do. You would think I'd want to be the lion, but I
Right.
don't. I just want to cuddle and
No.
cuddle and do a little purring and get pet
Yeah.
and told
Yeah.
it's adorable.
And you want to be a domesticated kitten
Oh, that's a good question. Yes,
because you
100%.
don't want to be the wild
Yeah.
lion cub because it's
No.
a little rough out there.
Yeah.
No, you want to be the domesticated Siamese, most unique, most beautiful, red,
Yeah.
beautiful fur. That is, you are the do the thing domesticated. I actually think you're the domesticated, fearless feline that
Ooh.
understands that the luxury of just like being graceful and taken care of is the key. But you're so wise, you're like, listen, owner, if you do not give me my premier food and love me, then I will scratch you. No, I'm
Scratch your eyes out.
I don't see that any part of you that scratch your eyes out. I'll forgive you until.
Yeah. So we'll just
Oh
do
my
that.
God. Yes. Of all the cat, I'm going to have to come up with the cat, like the comparison. A lynx is blank, a tiger, a cougar, a black leopard.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So cool. There's
Hmm.
something else that I think would be so interesting, just because I know you, and we'll maybe do another one to kind of explore this more. There's the thing you've got going on with this 4D thing is so huge. Like you're in the beginning of something so big that neither of us know what it is yet, because it's still
Yes.
like newly identified, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and think about all the people with all the stuff in their head that it's stuck there, you know, because they're like
Yeah.
the self-doubt, the limiting thoughts, like all that's, I know you help people with that, but there's all that stuff. But there's also all those people with all those ideas of like all the things. And then if they don't put it out there,
Yeah.
it's like stuck, because the way that you're able to do the thing is you get the stuff out of your head, you know, the fastest that you can. And so I feel like there's something really powerful about that ability you have of like getting it out. And I don't know what that is, but I'm just saying it out loud so we can look back at this episode and laugh in like a month when we visit this. Yeah.
Yeah. I do say to people all the time, I can see what you're not showing me. I can hear what you're not saying, and I know what questions to ask because of that ability. And I
Yeah.
can draw things out. Like after we talk, I will make a drawing and an explanation. Like, you think like this, he thinks like this. That's why you two aren't getting along. So what we need to do is when you get here, he's here, and da, da, da. I got to show you something quick. Just keep
Oh
talking.
yeah.
That would be done, 'cause I know we have to go. Okay, so this just kind of hit me, Miss Stacey Lauren. Okay, so I started art. I've always been creative and whatever, but look what I do with art.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. Wow. This is amazing. This is
Yeah,
amazing. Like
it's
seriously, this is incredible.
it's in 4D.
This is amazing. This is like literally, this is so big. I just don't even know what it is yet, but it's like we're like right at the beginning of us understanding what this 4D thing is. It's
Yes,
unbelievable. Like your
yes,
brain thinks in 4D. Like
yes,
cool. How cool
yes,
is that? That is
yes.
so cool. Your
It's cool.
brain is able to like take something that's like this one thing, and then you're able to put it into a four.
Yeah, yes, yes. I have so many other things that I have to create,
Oh, yeah.
which now I'm starting to see
Wow.
you, Stacey Lauren.
Whoa, will you do this in your group, and like how you're doing the book club, and like this could be a thing where like something art related. I see like
Yes,
something really cool like art related or drawing or something like that. I don't know
yes.
what that is yet, but
I
anyway,
know what it
we're
is.
just starting. You know what it is. Oh,
I do. I do.
oh,
I'll every podcast I will bring on one of my 4D art projects, because
yes.
I think it's something that I've never seen, and a lot of people are like, I've never seen anything like that. And
Yeah.
I'm always like, really? I'm sure it's somewhere, but I'm starting to think it's not. I
Yeah.
know I think different. I know this. Okay. I will admit this. But now I'm starting to see like, oh, it's a good thing.
Yes. Isn't this so cool? This is where things like it is where the coolest things get. Like my friend Margie, she's like owns a business where she helps bookkeepers learn QuickBooks, and
Oh,
she's
I need Margie.
something called I can't remember what it is, but it's something where she can't visualize things in her head, and so she has to create a really simple system. So anyway, by her having this
Ah.
thing where she's not able to like see things, she's
Yes.
now able to create the simplest like system for people to create, like to learn how to use
Yeah.
QuickBooks, right? She has like
Yeah.
8,500 students. It's like a really successful
Sure.
business.
Yeah.
And so that's what happens, right? When you think differently
Yes.
and you're able to own it, and you're able to,
Yes.
like you say, like be you and like follow,
Yes.
then all of a sudden here you are, you're able to like do all this cool stuff with it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And I understand how she thinks in a way, because it's taking a bunch of information and simplifying the steps. I did that
Mhm.
recently in one of our conferences, and somebody looked over at my piece of paper and they were like, "Can I take a picture of that?" I'm like, "Absolutely." I
Yeah.
mean, in 2 hours, here it is. Like, there's 4 steps that you can easily do versus a 2-hour conversation where you're like,
Yeah.
what is
Love
happening?
that.
Yeah, I love it. I
But
love everything you do too. I love that we don't even have to sometimes talk. We can just be like, and then we start laughing. We're like, what was that? Oh, well, we'll try to explain it. Oh my God, this was so fun. We have
so
to go now.
fun. Yes, so fun. Oh, what's going to be your outro? You're like little, so mine is do the thing, don't wait for opportunity, create it. So we got to do, I
Mm.
feel like I gave you the, like that's what we did with the first episode.
I know. Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
do have to end with a meow or a yes. We should. I'm
Okay.
Ann Summer, and so you can find me on ansummer.org. PANsummer.com. And okay, so on the count of 3, you and I have to do our best meows or whatever you want to do. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Meow.
Oh, that's almost embarrassing. I'm almost embarrassed, but not quite. Not quite.
That was
Okay.
so fun.
That was
So
fun.
fun.
I summarized what you said for podcasters. Make sure you schedule, make sure it's
Mhm.
about relationships, no editing, and then be raw. Use your real voice and roar. So there you go. Thank you,
Ooh.
Stacey. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
All
you
right.
so
Love you
much.
so much.
Bye. You're
Bye.
amazing. Oh my
See you later.
God.